Hey, Walt here from StogieReview.com with another video cigar review. This time around I'm going to do a humidor diving video. However, I thought I would turn the camera on and talk a little bit about the cigar that I'm going to be looking for. I don't know that that is the cigar I'll be smoking because I'm not quite sure whether or not I have any. But I'm sitting on Humidor number 2. This is one that I built a few years back, and I don't really go into it much. It's a humidor that wound up holding a lot of samplers and 5-packs and things like that from when I was doing a lot of buying with Cigars International and Cigar Bid and things like that. If I got a sampler or mixed cigars or 5-packs or whatever, it generally went inside this cooler. So I'm looking for one particular cigar. I don't know whether or not I'm going to find it, and I'm not dead set on smoking this cigar. I just thought, you know, I'm gonna go looking for it. If something more interesting pops up along the way, you know, I'll pull that aside and we'll smoke that instead. But I'm gonna make an effort to find a Camacho Negro. Now it's been, I don't even know if the cigar is made anymore. I just happened to see it on Facebook not all that long ago from our friend Steve. I believe he either goes by or went by the handle Ratters on a handful of forums and things. And he was smoking one the other day, and I thought, you know what, I think I have one somewhere, and I just wanted to dig it out and give it a shot. So, sit tight. I guess we're going to start digging around in this cooler and see what we find. Alright, let's go looking. RH beads. I got some cigars buried down there, just some loose stuff. Just random stuff from Corona a while back. Yeah, the stuff I'm looking for is not on the top. It's probably going to be buried in one of the wooden Fuente boxes, but can't be sure until I start looking. So, let's get in here. The old Indian Tobacco classic. I hated that cigar. The Jericho, another cigar from Camacho, and as you can see, these are from '06. So it's been quite a while since I went digging around in here. Looks like a lot of Jericho and Indian Tobacco stuff. This is definitely a Cigar Bid purchase at one point in time or another. The Cinco Vegas Series A from '06 again. Nub Habano 466. Probably been around a while. Astral and Fires. They're Rocky Patel product. I know I should have some Camacho stuff stuffed down in here somewhere. These are Boulevard Cofradias. They're actually Boulevard Cofradias, the General Cigar variety. I remember buying that box a long time ago. Some Monte Cruz stuff. Ooh. Camacho. Is that the... It's not the Coilar, is it? Or the SLR. That's interesting. I'll set that aside. Because if we can't find that Negro, we're smoking that one. XL for men, the condom, the packaging that looks like it's meant for condoms. The old Padilla stuff made by Pepin from '07. Can't find what I'm looking for. It's down around here somewhere. There we go. That's the Camacho stash I was looking for. This is not the... I was looking for the... excuse me, the Camacho Negro, but it ain't there. That's disappointing. Maybe I'll look a little bit more, and then we're going to call it quits and stick with the SLR Tubo. Don Thomas stuff. funny white. I'm not even sure what those barber poles are, where they came from. Pirate's Gold. These are... This cigar is like my Devil's Weed. If you know the story with Mike and the Devil's Weed, the Pirate's Gold is pretty much my Devil's Weed experience. I bought a boatload of them because they were cheap and they turned out to be horrible. And they're just still sitting. Some Consuegras. Gurkha laying down the bottom there. Getting difficult as we get down the bottom. Yahtzee, we got what I was looking for. The Camacho Negro, and actually I've got several more. So this is the cigar we're going to smoke. We will smoke that Camacho SLR at some other point in time, but let's get the cigar fired up and see how it goes. I don't have a label or anything on it, but I would imagine this is probably from 06, 07. Alright, well, you just watched me rummage around in a completely disorganized Humidor for about 3 or 4 minutes. So now let's get down to business and talk a little bit about this Camacho Negro. Now, I'm not sitting directly in front of the camera, so I can't show you the band. I'm sure you saw it in the original part, but you know, I did a quick web search for the Camacho Negro cigar, and I didn't get a whole lot turn up. There was some information from JR Cigars, and it appears as though the cigar is not available. It looks like it's in their database, but the packaging doesn't look right. I don't know whether this is new packaging or what it refers to, so we're going to ignore that. And there's this fantastic review from Stogie Review. Unfortunately, it doesn't talk about the makeup of the cigar. You know, at this point in time, we weren't really being specific with the information, with the makeup of the cigar. This is from back in January of 2007. So this cigar was purchased in 06, it looks like. And I really don't know what the makeup is. It's a Brazilian Maduro wrapper. I would assume that it's San Andreas Maduro, but I'm just kind of guessing at this point. So, with no information, or no useful information to give you about the makeup of the cigar, let's just get underway and get this thing fired up. So, first and foremost, looking over the cigar, it looks like I've got good, consistent color from head to foot. What I do see are 2 small, kind of hairline cracks running diagonally across the cigar. And one of the things, just looking at this wrapper, is it looks like it's a bit delicate. So, I'm a little concerned about those 2 little cracks. They may spread as the cigar heats up and swells, or they may be a non-issue, so I'll have to keep an eye on them. Aside from that, the cigar looks really good. I've got a tiny little bit of crystallization of the oils. The cigar's got a box press shape. It's more oblong than anything else, probably from sitting so long. The cigar feels nice and firm, but again, I don't want to squeeze it too hard because the wrapper seems pretty delicate. It feels consistently packed with tobacco. And just all in all, it looks like a good, solid, well-made cigar. So let's go and get this thing lit. So what was the draw to these cigars when I bought them back in 2006? At that point in time, I was fairly new to the Club Stogie cigar forum, which is long gone and has since been purchased and turned into a monstrosity of a collaborative effort, or just it's a mass of forums all combined. I haven't been on there in years, but it was a mess a couple of years ago. But at any rate, back on Club Stogie, there was rumors of this new Camacho Negro being the Padron Annie killer. And at this point in time, Padron Aniversarios were, I don't know, they were kind of like the holy grail of cigars among Club Stogie members. And anytime that you could find a cigar for less money, but just as good or better, you know, it's sort of, it kind of earned the moniker, the new and improved Padron Annie killer. And And because, you know, because it was potentially better than this awesome cigar, I had to get some, and I believe I got a 5-pack from the looks of the article that I wrote up. And apparently I didn't smoke very many of them, or I must have gotten more at some point in time. So, because I think I had 4 in that box. So, let's get this thing lit. I'm doing a lot of babbling this time around, but you know what? It's my cigar review. I'm going to do whatever I want. If I'm going to, I'll keep you here for 20 minutes if I feel the need. So the pre-light draw is good. It's nice and free. I've got sort of a chocolatey flavor on it. It's also got sort of a hay kind of aroma to it. Not too bad. I mean, it's not nice and bold and rich. It you know, it kind of has a the pre-light draw is coming off as though it's lost a little bit. And, you know, cigars do that sometimes with age, but could just be my imagination because I know how old the cigar is. Well, that first puff certainly didn't lose any power sitting in the humidor. Nice and full. It's got a punch through the sinus. That was rather pleasant. Good creamy smoke. The flavor is, I don't know how to describe it. It's got the tried and true Maduro flavors, but it seems really mellowed and just kind of subdued. I would imagine that's from the age. I know how I want to describe it, but I don't know how to describe it. You know, like those Maduro flavors, you get some bitterness, you get some chocolate, you get some coffee, and when you smoke a Maduro under normal circumstances, you can taste these flavors independently. This cigar feels like a collaborative effort of all of that. All these flavors kind of melded together. And while I can taste them, they seem more of like one combined flavor instead of these independent Maduro flavors. So I think that's a definite characteristic of an aged cigar. So we're off to a good start. I'm going to turn the camera off, take a break, and I'll be back in just a second. We'll take a look at probably the first half of my Camacho Negro and see how it turns out, or see how it goes. Well, it's been a little while. I haven't really been keeping an eye on the clock, so I don't know how much time has elapsed, but I was really debating on whether or not I wanted to come back at this point or wait until I was much further along with the cigar. From the time I lit it up until now, there really hasn't been much change. I mean, there was a nice sort of spicy punch or powerful punch through the sinus with the first initial couple of puffs, first 2 or 3, and then it really subdued, and the cigar has been kind of laid back ever since. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it's been sitting in the humidor for in excess of 4 years. I mean, if you ever pick up a cigar and smoke it and you think, you know, this is kind of rough around the edges, I'll put it in the humidor, I'll let it sit, I'll revisit in a couple of months, maybe a year. You pick it up and those rough edges have been smoothed out and the cigar smokes really well. Well, I think that was going through my mind when I set these cigars down in the humidor. I think I remember them being kind of rough around the edges and not really my thing. Well, here we are, you know, probably close to 5 years later, and those rough edges have sort of melted into nothing. The cigar is just kind of really, really soft. You know, there's all of the flavors seem to have married together, which is sometimes is a good thing, and other times it just seems really monotonous, and that's kind of what I'm getting out of the cigar. It's not bad. The flavor profile is interesting, but it just kind of drones on and on and on. There's really nothing going on that's grabbing my interest and making me excited to take the next puff. It's just really soft and not a whole lot of interest left in the cigar. I think it's I think it's gone flat from sitting for too long. But on the bright side, this thing is burning like a champ. It looks fantastic. The ash holds a really tight shape. The burn line is thin and even. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better burn out of the cigar, and that's wonderful. The smoke volume is good. It's easy to get through the sinuses. It's nice and thick. It's got a creamy texture to it. It's probably medium-bodied, mild to medium flavor level. Maybe it's pushing medium. The flavor level has really toned down. And you know, in a nutshell, the cigar is smoking well. It just doesn't taste like much because it's been sitting for so long. But I'll come back one more time. We'll take one last look at the cigar, see if things change up as we get further down, but I'm really not expecting much change. I would imagine the flavor profile to be the same and all that. And as far as the flavor profile goes, it's sort of like a very, I don't know, it's sort of like a Maduro stew. Just you throw in those traditional Maduro flavors and just kind of let them sit, and you've got one flavor. And that's more or less what I'm getting out of this stick. So sit tight. I'll be back in just a moment. We'll take a look at the cigar one more time before I let you get out of here, and then, you know, I'll let you do your thing and go do whatever you were doing before you click play. Well, I'm coming down the home stretch of the Camacho Negro now, and I guess it was about 10 or 15 minutes after I turned the camera off, I experienced a little bit of a surprise. The flavor profile, or the flavor intensity, picked up dramatically, and the cigar started to get really rich, and just these awesome flavors started coming out of it. I mean, it was still this one sort of combined flavor, but it just sort of blossomed. But it was short-lived. It wasn't long after that the flavor profile started turning harsh and getting bitter, or getting overly bitter. It's sort of irritating the back of my throat just a little bit, and it's sort of been on a downward slide ever since. I think I would have much rather had that sort of monotonous single core flavor from start to finish, instead of having the cigar, you know, hit this peak and get really good, only to just kind of fall flat on its face just a few short minutes later. The cigar is still doing really well in terms of burn. Those sort of angled cracks that I had in the wrapper, they swelled a little bit as I got close to them, but it really hasn't been an issue. It burned clear through, and no ill effects. You know, I didn't have any flaking or ash going anywhere, or any additional splitting of the wrapper leaf. It's smoking really well. The ash is a nice compacted shape. It's in 3 chunks in the ashtray here, fairly large chunks. And just all in all, construction-wise and as far as smokability is concerned, I think the cigar is a real winner. I think if I would have smoked these maybe 2 years ago, or cut the time that they've had in the humidor in half, and I think the cigar would have been a much bolder, more interesting cigar that would have lost the rough edges that I initially experienced with the brand, or with the line, instead of the flavored profile just kind of being flat at this point. So all in all, it's a decent cigar. It's kind of monotonous, but I don't know. I think it had a lot of potential, and I waited too long to smoke it. I've got a few more. I'm certainly not going to let them sit for another 5 years before I light them up again. I'm going to try smoking them here and there, and see if maybe it's just the one stick that's kind of flat, or if they're all the same way. I would imagine that it's going to be pretty consistent with all of them because of the age. So I'm kind of curious to see where they go, but I'm not terribly excited to light them up and see how they go. But it is a good, decent cigar. It burns really well, and I think this would go pretty well with coffee earlier on in the morning when you don't really need a really bold cigar to get you through. You know, I think the softer tones of the cigar would probably lend itself better earlier on in the morning when the palate is fresh, especially with like a piping hot cup of coffee. I think the flavors would complement themselves, or complement each other fairly well. So that's going to do it for this humidor diving video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the beginning, when I was going through the humidor and rummaging around, if you saw anything in there that you would like me to do, or like me to feature in one of these humidor diving videos, shoot me an email or leave a comment on the video, send me a note on Twitter or something, and let me know which cigar you'd like me to smoke, and I'll try to rummage back through that cooler and set that stuff aside so that I can actually get to it and not forget about it. But that's going to wrap up the video, and I want to thank you for watching, And until next time, happy smoking, and I will catch you later.